Well, Chief, it is a beautiful, a bright, clear, dry, sunny day. It happens to be January the 5th, 2013, Saturday, January the 5th. And if it stays like this, in the 40s, the high of the 40s,
that will be good.
That'll be great, because
for January,
I do not care for shoveling snow and chopping ice and digging my car out and not having the ample parking spaces around the house, especially with the lousy job my town's Department of Public Works does in plowing. They don't use any science or thought when they plow. You know, if they did, they wouldn't be cruising up and down the middle of the street doing nothing. They would be plowing the mountains of snow that get pushed to the side of the road and eliminate much needed parking spaces. But they don't do that. So I hear it's like I hear it's a crony job. There's a long waiting list to get in. They pay very well and they have great benefits, and they pretty much diddly-dick around.
Wow.
Depending on the part.
Cronyism, jeez.
Cronyism.
Isn't that something new, like in politics?
Well, local politics in New Jersey, local politics in New Jersey is like that. Cronyism. You know, they hire their relatives and their friends, and they pretty much sit around with their thumbs up their ass and shuffle papers around and take long lunch breaks.
That's not very productive for the economy.
And take long lunch breaks. Yeah.
Not very productive at all.
Sure. I had a DPW man that's supposed to take some dangerous branches that were hanging, and he just sat in his truck and he took the longest lunch break. He was there for a few hours eating a big hero sandwich, and he just hung out, and then he decided to work.
Cool.
It's taxpayers' money. But anyway, you know how
What about the Congress?
The Congress? Oh, talk about
taxpayer money.
Talk about taking vacations.
Yeah.
And
when
how
they
many
decide to work.
And how many bills do they really pass in 1 year?
Not many last year.
The do-nothing Republican Congress you're talking about?
Yeah.
And they
even forgot the Sandy bill.
Yeah, they said no to Hurricane Sandy victims. For how many? How many Republicans said no?
67.
67 Republicans said no to the Sandy victims.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I heard they want to bring back the old filibuster law where they have to do some work to filibuster.
That's correct.
They have to get on the floor and debate.
Actually speak.
And actually speak.
Yeah. Instead of sending a little letter and saying, yeah, you know, I want to filibuster.
I'd rather go on vacation. I don't want to filibuster. Yeah, they're looking to change that. And you know what's annoying? There's these people, okay, on the internet, and you know, a lot of them click like to certain political groups that make sense, like the progressive groups, and they might post a comment once in a blue moon, but very rarely do they post anything. They just usually give a like, a thumbs up, and that's it. They have nothing to say. And then there are people. These are people who really don't get involved. They have complaints privately, but they don't get involved publicly, or God forbid they should show a picture of themselves or do a video. And they're afraid of showing themselves, afraid of doing a video, afraid of voicing their honest opinion, because American citizens have a right to be heard. They have a right to hear and be heard. And a lot of people, Chief, a lot of people just hide behind texting. It's like a cowardly way to live.
Not really now. The internet, people like to be anonymous on the internet.
It's called being a wimp.
Well, it's called. You were just talking about tracking the program before. It's trying to avoid people following you, tracking you,
but I know people that, like, I posted something to the effect where Facebook should not call their friends list a friends list. They should call it a casual acquaintance list or a virtual fake phony texting friend list, or they shouldn't call it really a friends list because they're not friends. Friends are people that eventually want to get to know you and meet you face to face and hang out with you and be your friend, or maybe speak to you on video or speak to you on the phone. A friend is not an acquaintance that you type to for the rest of your life. That is not a friend. So the word friend should be maybe casual internet texting, buddy or something
How
like
about
that.
buddies?
Because it's ridiculous.
Facebook buddies.
Yeah, but there are people who really want to stay extremely anonymous, and this is the funny part. Websites like the old MySpace and Facebook are supposed to be a friends networking website. But
social network.
Right, but if you send a friends request to somebody that you don't know, you get penalized. You get threatened that you are going to be blocked, that your friend request privilege will be blocked for a week or 30 days. But isn't that the whole purpose of the friends networking website, is to make friends?
I don't know how that happens, because when a person sends me a friend request, how are you ever going to be confirmed by that person if you don't send a request?
Right. Now, in other words, they
so
send you
not a spamming or something.
They send you a friends request.
And I either say yay or nay.
If somebody sends you a friends request and you say yay, you don't get a threatening notice from Facebook. But anytime I send one to somebody else, I get the notice. Do you know this person? Blah blah blah. Okay, so that means even if they're a friend of another friend, and I use that term loosely, friends, if they're a friend of another friend that's already on my list, I still get the threatening message that, oh, I don't know this person and you cannot do that. Well,
that seems odd. Maybe you are targeted.
Because of my controversial groups and
I have no
opinions.
idea. Maybe do you have someone that you try to befriend or something that they complain?
Oh, I fight with people all the time.
Well,
but not lately.
Fight. I'm talking about
not
befriending.
lately. Not lately. Well, if somebody rubs me the wrong way, I'm very outspoken, and I basically
friend. That's already you're already friends.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm talking about when you want to befriend someone.
Right.
At first.
Yeah.
It's just like on Yahoo.
Yahoo.
On Yahoo Messenger.
Right.
I got a lot of people that contacted me wanting to be my buddy.
Yeah, some of them are spammers, right?
Well, some of them are spammers. Some of them are chicks that are selling their pictures or want you to watch them naked on Skype or Yahoo.
Webcam whores?
Yeah.
Well, there are many.
There's nothing that they send me. I either say yay or nay.
I mean, there are people that I'm no longer friends with, like, let's say, people that are in the wrestling industry that are kind of like, and all these pinup models and I mean,
Bloggers balls?
No, like these women that are in the business of looking really pretty and attractive or sexy and have provocative photos. If they want to befriend you, I don't understand why the conversation always leads up to, are you going to order some of my photos? Are you going to buy my calendar? Like this one professional...
Because that's not friendship, that's a business.
Like there's two professional wrestling females that are no longer on my friends list that ended every chat with, are you going to buy my calendar? Are you going to order my new calendar? So how could it be a friend if they want money from you at the end of the conversation? They're self-promoting their agenda, so it's not really friendship. They're out there.
It's a business, baby.
Well, you know what?
Business.
Take your business somewhere else.
It's yay or nay. You're supposed to be able to say yay or nay.
Just because somebody says, it's a business or it's capitalism, or that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it honest. That doesn't make it ethical. And you know, people could say yay or nay, just like you said. That's what somebody in the wrestling business told me. Hey, if they do that, take them off your friends list.
Yeah.
That's all. But there are people who hide behind the text. There's one old friend of mine that she says to me, well, texting to me is more convenient and easier than talking to somebody on the phone. She says, I don't like to talk on the phone. That's almost as, that's almost, for a girl to say that, a female, that's almost as weird as an Italian friend of my mother's that says she hates cheese.
Hey.
What human being on this God's green earth hates something as wonderful as cheese?
Hey, there's no accounting for taste.
There's a lot of weirdos. Hey, there are psychiatric patients that have a thing about chewing up light bulbs and eating them. I'm telling you, there's a lot of weirdos in this world.
It takes a lot of weirdos to make up a world.
There was a girl that likes to eat fecal matter. There's a girl that likes to eat dirt. I mean, there's a lot of wacky people around.
It's a wacky, wonderful world.
Are you thinking of the Mel Brooks movie? It's a wild world, something like that. A wild.
Wasn't there something about a wacky world?
No, it's a. What was that? It's a Wild West. But Mel Brooks did that old movie. Anyway, very wacky. All right. I'm going to officially pipe aboard my co-host and mentor, the very founder of Newsletters Censored in 1977, aboard our progressive liberal, and I'm not ashamed to say it, pirate ship. Arr, ahoy, matey, and welcome aboard. The one and only, the Pope of the Internet, the Reverend...
No Pope. Please.
All right, poop. The Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman.
No Rev either.
You're a Reverend.
Dr. Bill. No, Reverend Doctor sounds better. I don't care about sounds. God is not a respecter of persons and titles.
Well, you're respectable.
God is not a respecter.
Well, technically...
Of titles.
Technically, he is a Reverend because he's ordained. And he does have PhDs.
What the hell is that?
And he does possess 4 PhDs, right? Or is it
whatever.
3? No, there is no whatever.
It is whatever.
It
is what it... Hey.
You possess it.
Way back when.
Stick that chest out proud.
Pride is of the devil.
Pull those shoulders back.
Pride is of the devil.
Suck in that stomach. Flex those pecs.
Pride is of the devil.
Flex those pecs. Be proud of your certificates and your credentials. Ah, come on. Be proud
of you.
All right. Now, menage. Yeah. Now it's an Italian word. Menage. I'm not quite sure what it is, but my grandmother used to say it often. Oh, menage. When she used to get aggravated, she used to say menage.
Oh, no.
I think it's a pain in the ass or.
A pita.
She used to say "scucciamenda" too, as somebody who's an instigator, like Woody Woodpecker.
No,
that's Porky Pig.
Porky Pig. Who the hell?
Woody Woodpecker had that. Then there's Heckle and Jekyll.
I love Heckle and Jekyll.
The 2 magpies.
Love them.
Did anybody ever make pie out of magpie? Magpie pot pie? Or what about octopot pie?
Speaking of fish.
Octopot pie. Oh, speaking jokes. Hold on. Every time we say something funny, we ring the bell. Speaking of fish, go ahead.
Speaking of fish.
Yeah.
I was watching a show the other day.
The balls are falling off.
From Ireland.
Ireland. The home of the Blackthorn Shillelagh.
They were farming turbot.
You Republicans in Congress? What?
They were farming turbot.
Herbert?
Turbot.
Oh, turbot, the flounder, the flatfish. I know turbot. It's very mushy when you eat it.
Doesn't look like there's too much there, but when they cooked it up,
It's a flounder. It's a flounder.
when they cooked it up, it was a pretty big piece of fillet.
A turbot is like I think it's predatory. It's like a fluke. It has teeth.
It's not predatory because they said it just sits on the bottom.
Bottom feeder?
It eats, I don't know what.
Okay,
but
then it's
it's very sedentary.
Then it's a flounder. Then it's related to a flounder.
Yeah, because it's a flatfish.
No, the halibut's a flatfish too, but they get up to 300 pounds. You ever see a halibut? Why don't you try one just for the halibut?
I've seen a halibut.
Just for the halibut.
In a nice frozen brick
Get it?
fillet.
Try it for the halibut.
Put it in my frying pan.
Try it for the halibut.
For the halibut.
A halibut is a giant fluke. A fluke is a flounder with teeth that is predatory. A flounder is a flatfish, flugy with the floy. No. It is a flatfish with a sucker type of mouth like a carp, and it feeds on worms, or as Curly said in the Three Stooges, worms. Is a bottom.
Or as
what?
you said in that stupid thing the other day.
I never say stupid.
And as I've said for years now, the protein of the future, worms.
Mealworms. Well, they're already farm raising the super worms. How would you like to have
Soylent Green.
You wouldn't eat a worm omelet?
Hell no! What am I saying? Mr. Zimmerer or whatever the hell his name is? Andrew Zimmer?
Of Bizarre Foods. You wouldn't eat a worm burger?
No! I want cow. Ooh.
Oh, beef. Not that genetically modified cow. Did you see that photo?
That was terrible.
It was horrible. It was so horrible. Mr. Gary Knoll took it and it said that he took the photo and used it, and people have commented about it, and it's absolutely despicable what genetic modification does to animals. It's mad science.
And what it's going to do to people.
And it transfers into disease for humans.
I think we have a little article on food safety today.
Let us now sink our...
I think, well, I'll hold my criticisms.
Let us now sink our teeth into these readings. I know the last time you saw us was Wednesday because it was a holiday and I couldn't get here last Saturday. So we don't want these readings to build up. All right, go ahead.
What makes the GOP think that holding the tax rate down will create more jobs?
Here we go again.
Jobs are created when the economics of a business creates a demand for it.
Just like you always said.
Hold the tax rate down and there is no need for additional employees. The money saved will go to the bottom line and end up in someone's pocket. Jobs are created by good management in the fields of marketing, product development, research, competitive studies, advertising, etc., etc., etc.
I
used to say that.
A lot of old timers used to say that.
No, that Japanese guy or something. Etc., etc., etc. Whatever.
Was that Charlie Chan?
I don't know.
Number
if
one?
I knew that, I would know who it was.
Jiu-Jitsu? I don't know.
Government help in keeping jobs in this country through tax incentives, not the reduction of tax rates, is probably one of the biggest job building incentives there is. Increase in efficiency destroy the need for new jobs. When management creates a need for new jobs through the channels I suggest, it should not have to depend on tax savings to finance it. What's the matter with bank financing? What bank is going to deny financing to a business that can demonstrate the need for financing to build profits? Is the GOP now trying to take away the bank's business?
Yeah.
No,
not a bad article to start off the show with. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Trickle down, dickle down, pissle down, whatever you want to call it. It's really siphon up economics. The jobs are, if there are going to be jobs, are going to be in mainland China. You know, my Philippine friends are complaining that the management at the inbound call center of T-Mobile, because customer service jobs were outsourced to the Philippines, where they pay them a lousy $1 an hour. They were telling me last night, that the management for T-Mobile in the Philippines were browbeating slave-driving scumbags. They were they wanted more and more and more and more and more, and people were like, people are extremely upset and stressed out. And I says, maybe that's coming from the top. Maybe it's the #1 scumbag demon, the CEO of T-Mobile in the United States, that's telling them to crack the whip on their people, on their workers in the office. Now, why would you want to kill yourself for a lousy $1 an hour?
Because you have to.
I told them, form a union in the Philippines.
Ah!
Well, yeah, why would you have to? I would say, why do you want me to bust my balls for a lousy $1 an hour?
To survive. That's what they want.
Well, the good thing is there are other jobs that pay more.
Where?
No, the person was telling me there are other office jobs with other companies that pay more relatively.
Now.
Huh?
Now. But there won't be.
Hey, it could be worse. You could be working for Foxconn in China and getting 32 cents an hour.
Correct.
And maybe having slave driving supervisors over you.
That is all coming here. And all due to tax breaks for corporations.
Let me tell you something. The day that Americans, knowing how their temper is, the day that Americans are getting the whip cracked on them for 32 cents an hour, you're going to see a fucking revolution in America. You think people are going to...
Americans will go to the gas chambers doing nothing for their release. You see what happened to...
Not everybody...
Occupy Wall Street. Where is it?
Yeah, but if you push the masses long and hard enough, how many people make up mainstream? Millions, right? What you going to do against the army ants?
They're not going to get together.
Soldier ants in the Amazon jungle when you piss them off and they're on a march.
It doesn't happen in America.
You know, not everybody is passive, my friend.
It doesn't happen in America.
Some people are...
We had a Great Depression.
Yeah.
We had a Great Depression. Did they march on Washington?
Well, how do I know?
They stood in the bread line, in the soup kitchen.
What the hell they do that for?
They eat.
Because Americans are passive wimps.
Well, you just said the opposite. How can you hold two contradictory thoughts in your head at the same time?
At least the Greeks or the Iranians, they go out there turning over cars and blowing up buildings and setting things on fire. At least they got gumption in those countries.
Yeah, but guess what?
What?
They still have the rulers over them doing what they want and not what you want.
That's why it's, hey, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet
and you
sometimes.
Know what?
You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet,
That actually goes back to your statements before about titles and things and pride and etc.
Vote independent, progressive.
Okay?
Yeah.
It goes back to that stuff.
Titles?
People respect that crap. They respect their rulers.
What?
It's crap.
Respect their rulers?
It's all crap.
Their rulers are there for the same reasons why
you just said you
Bill
wanted
Gates,
to respect them.
Well, when it comes
Pride,
to
titles,
us,
it's for everyone.
Everyone.
I don't deserve respect.
Don't say
Neither
that.
does you give respect to anybody else.
What the hell's the matter with you? You don't say that on the air.
Why not?
You don't deserve
It's
respect.
the truth.
You deserve it. You've accomplished.
Why?
You've accomplished a lot.
I just said God is not a respecter of persons.
But
He doesn't say one is better than the
hey,
other.
jabroni, but people who subscribe to newsletters are a respecter of persons.
They don't respect the person, they respect the information.
Yeah, that's why somebody...
If they respect
That's why somebody who in the wrestling business criticized our shows because we don't do them in a modern high-tech studio. You know what I told them?
Content!
Look at the content. Now, do you see how there's always somebody to burst your friggin' bubble and
Well,
bust
then
your balls out
Why
there?
do you let them?
Because it's criticism.
So?
You know I'm not too partial to that.
Well, that's you. But the point of it is, criticism is criticism,
Instead
and it will always be there.
Instead of looking at the content of what you do
Then what kind of person is
and
that?
educating them,
Then what kind of person is that? Uneducable and you should not waste your time on them.
I'd rather have a show with a tremendous amount to learn from in a very humble, modest setting than to have a stupid, idiotic, nincompoop show like a Honey Boo Boo, a stupid reality show set up in a modern high-tech studio. I'd rather have content where people can walk away and learn something in a humble setting.
Then why do you waste your time on
Because
allowing that criticism?
I want to hear compliments.
Why?
Because all the hard work that we do.
But that
Because we deserve compliments.
deserving and getting them is two different things.
You know what? We're living in a very illogical world, as you know.
Correct. And that particular person you're talking about should not have listened to the show.
Did not listen to the
And
show.
did not listen to it, or doesn't need to listen to. And so why you waste your time on it?
Because the person's not interested. It is another person that is not interested in politics.
So why waste your time on it?
Just entertainment. Entertainment. There are people
Well, we
who...
don't know what he's interested in.
No, he told me. Everything...
Well, then go watch TV.
Everything he tells me about is about the entertainment field.
Then go watch it.
Instead of noticing us not being in a high-tech studio.
Well, that's what I just said.
Well,
Go watch a television program which is entertainment to him. Why bother?
he didn't criticize
He's
our
getting
show.
under your skin. He's
He-
criticizing you
A lot of people like
Personal.
to get under old James's skin.
because they know they can.
He's not
Change.
He's not criticizing the show. He's criticizing
No
that
kidding.
we're not in a fancy studio.
Which has nothing to do with anything.
That costs money, by the way.
Which has nothing to do with anything.
You know, people always have to run their mouth, I notice nowadays. You notice that, don't you?
Any day. It's part of the, whatchamacallit. It's part of the milieu. You put something out there, you're going to have somebody who disagrees.
Because it makes them feel bigger. It makes
Whatever
them feel
the
important.
motives are.
Now
it's
you
the
know why
motives.
people get clobbered and clocked and shot and all this stuff. Now you know why these things happen.
Well, some
right.
things there's no reason for them to happen, such as Newtown, Connecticut.
Oh, that was
There's
freaking...
no reason
that was-
to
that was
shoot
dis-
20 kids.
That was despicably evil.
Okay? That's exactly correct.
But when people are nitpicky and they talk shit, like these people do on occasion, about us not being in a fancy schmancy studio, that's like having a mosquito and a gnat. You can't whack it. It just keeps on bugging you and bugging you. It's
Exactly.
unnecessary.
So what do you do?
You tell them off.
Has that worked? Has it ever worked throughout history? Violence meeting violence.
No, I don't mean violence.
Has it ever worked?
I don't mean violence. I mean a question like, have you ever really watched and listened to our show in its entirety? Have you ever listened to the content of it?
Why
You know what I mean?
would you be trying to educate the uneducable?
Because maybe it
It
just
is
piss-
a defeating task. Even God knows that. There will be incorrigible people in the millennium.
So in other words, on the internet, there are always going to be people that are going to criticize and mock.
Exactly.
And if
So,
you
what is your job?
if you fight with them and tell them off, it's it's going to
It's
go.
one opinion against another opinion.
Just flamers who talk nonsense and post stupid things.
Well, they're nonsense as long as it's boosted up by money and position. Gets to some people. Look at Congress. Look at Michelle Bachmann for the 34th time. She's going to put a bill out there to repeal Obamacare.
I bet Michelle Bachmann has
34 times.
I bet Michelle Bachmann has the best health care for her and her family.
She does.
Does she?
And she
Free.
gets a raise automatically.
As a member of
Congress, they made it so.
And automatic raises, and they're already overpaid. And guess who's paying for her health care?
Me and you.
Taxpayers' money.
Well, now that you mention that.
So she wants to deny health care for the poor and low-income people in America. Michelle Bachmann.
Correct. Correct.
Selfish. I mean, usually women have compassion, but not Republican.
Not robots.
Huh?
Conservatives are robots. They're not people.
You mean like Sarah Palin and Bachmann and Governor...
They have no... Hey, Rush Limbaugh said it years ago.
Yeah.
I have no compassion for the poor.
He admitted it. He don't care.
That's correct. Compassion is a weakness to the conservatives.
You know, the cartoon Family Guy, Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, they made Rush Limbaugh in the cartoon to be like some kind of hero, giving him, saying that his book, you know, one of the Family Guy members, Brian, the talking dog, he was a progressive liberal, and Rush Limbaugh says, read my book, even the first few pages, read some of it. And it ended up on the show that Brian read the whole book, and he was totally changed into a Republican, and said, Rush, you were right, you were correct.
Which book was that?
One of his many stupid books. You know, you were right all along, Rush. Yeah, the conservative republicanism is the way to go. Is the way to go? Yeah, if you're a greedy, selfish, rich person in America, then the American dream is a reality to a rich person, right?
Well, yeah.
Not to us, not to the little guy.
It is a reality because, as I've said so many times, if we begin a monopoly game and we divvy out the money and we give one person twice or 3 times the amount of money as the other 3 players, what does that do?
That means they're going to buy more hotels and more property.
And that means they're going to be successful and win the game.
And when every time we land on their property, we're gonna have to pay high rent.
That's correct.
And become broke.
And that is what is going on in America
and
today.
end up broke.
And we did it deliberately. Back in the 1970s, the rich paid 71% income taxes rate. Today, they pay 35% if they do, and now, we raised it to 39.6% for those making more than $450,000 a year. Oh boy, oh boy.
How come,
boy, this is really getting the revenue, isn't it?
How come your Democratic Party doesn't grow a backbone and bring back the tax rate of Eisenhower and Truman?
Because they're all corporatists.
They're whores. They're paid off, right?
Whatever, but we keep voting them in there.
Because the lousy, stinking, bought-out media doesn't allow us to get to know the independent candidates.
That's correct, because
politics
is a horse race, and you only got a winner and a loser.
No, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, same thing with football.
Football.
You always remember the winner of the playoff games, or who wins the Super Bowl. You don't pay attention to the team who loses it.
Well, yeah, that's correct, but that's not what politics are. It's just like It's just like running a government is not a business, Mr. Romney.
It shouldn't be. He
Yeah.
treats it like it was a business.
Well, they would like to treat it like it was a business, the conservatives, but it ain't. That's why they rule
Do you think
instead of govern.
Do you think there was something strange about Barack Obama trying to make friends with Mitt Romney after he won the election, trying to have these luncheon meetings with him to get his opinion on certain things and have him kind of like help out the administration with certain things? I mean, why is there always this desire to compromise bipartisanship ways, you know, in a bipartisanship way to get the Republicans to like Democrats, to love them? Why must we have this compromise which always hurts the little guy?
Yeah, well, but compromise is how the government runs.
Yeah, but we lose.
You're complaining that the
We lose.
yes, of course, but you're complaining that the conservatives, the Tea Party, don't compromise. Okay.
Well, they
now
never
you
do.
don't. Now you don't want the Democrats to compromise. So then, if you got to compromise, you don't have any government.
No, you fight all the time.
Exactly, and nothing gets done
And if you fight
for the
like
little guy.
and if you fight like some of the parliaments in other countries, you literally fight. I've seen videos of parliaments,
Yeah.
congresses in other countries where it's come to blows,
Yeah.
and it's come to pretty hard blows.
Because, you know,
It's a riot.
politics is pathological. It has nothing to do with the benefit of the people or the government, the country.
It's a bunch of insecure. It's a bunch of power-hungry men
That's whatever they... Hey,
who
there's
fight,
100 women in the Congress right now and 20 in the Senate.
and there's a good minority distribution also now.
Yeah.
Now the
But
Democrats.
what good is it?
The Congress is still the majority, Republican majority.
Yeah.
That's the
But
problem.
they still don't do... They still don't do things in the interest of the country
No.
or the people. It's in the interest of the of corporations or the wealthy. It's as simple as that.
Well, concerning Sandy relief
Uh-huh.
and other things, I want to salute our local congressman, Democrat Bill Pascrell, because I saw him pounding his fist and screaming in Congress. The man that was full of spunk and energy and enthusiasm, and I just want to salute Congressman Bill Pascrell. What district does he represent again?
Mine.
Well, I know that.
The 9th.
The 9th district?
Yeah.
Up in northern New Jersey?
Here.
Northeastern New Jersey.
Lodi.
He covers more territory than one town.
Yes, he does, but he's the 9th district, wherever that gerrymandered goes to.
Yeah, salamander. Anyway, he
Right
covers
there under a rock.
he covers a lot of territory in the
Yes, he
Northeast.
does. But,
Bill Pascrell, he was on fire in Congress. He was on fire.
however, before one puts out their accolades to these gentlemen and such, etc., where was he 60 days ago?
How the hell do I know?
Well, it's been 60 days or so since Sandy.
Yeah, why now?
Thank you.
Maybe he wasn't feeling well back then.
Whatever.
Maybe he had a flu.
Whatever.
Anyway,
And Mr. Boehner didn't bring the damn thing up into Congress anyway to put the bill on the floor.
because Boehner didn't give a shit because Sandy hit
The Northeast.
the Democratic voting
Yeah, the demons. The sick
north.
of the humans.
Well, except for New Jersey and Massachusetts voting for Republican governors, it is usually a Democratic part of the country. They're blue states.
Blue state.
I don't know why a blue state would vote in a Republican governor is beyond me. Americans are really strange creatures. They'll vote like they'll contradict themselves.
No kidding.
It's like,
I just pointed that out in how many shows? People hold two contradictory thoughts in their minds at the same time.
you know what?
How is that possible? It's illogical.
Hold on. The poor man has freaking dust on him.
Well, what do you expect? He's sitting up there for
I know.
22 years.
My God. Americans are very
Illogical.
You see him?
Fascinating.
Illogical. Old man Spock, the original Spock. Looking right at you, brother.
Okay. Down. Okay.
Spock.
Thank you.
The Americans are extremely illogical. And we'll just keep you here for a bit.
And ill in the head, too.
Yeah, and absolutely bonkers. Okay. I think you can bang out one or two readings before break.
As our judicial system is bound by laws and case law, wouldn't it be better for a computer like Watson? And for those who didn't know who Watson is, he's the computer from Jeopardy who won.
You mean to tell me there's a computer from Jeopardy that understands...
Well, it's not from Jeopardy. It was playing on Jeopardy.
But was it operated by a person, or was it totally independent, independently operating?
I didn't watch the show, but obviously it, it knows what it's doing.
I wonder if there's somebody behind it. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, Watson. Shouldn't we have Watson decide cases instead of judges?
Yeah, you know what Watson would say? Being that it's a machine.
Off with his head! Off with his head!
Watson would say, obsolete. You humans on trial are obsolete. Must be liquidated, eliminated.
A computer has no bias.
True.
Consider our Supreme Court. Decisions are often 5-4 along party lines. But who would program the computer? Laws are not absolute like equations. They're not comparable to chess moves that can be analyzed, or to facts such as George Washington's birth date. Was it February 11, 1731, according to the Julian calendar used then? Or February 22, 1732, by today's Gregorian calendar?
I know what it's probably not. It's not the Monday called President's Day, where they celebrate Lincoln and Washington in one day, so the retail businesses in America can have all their stupid sales on President's Day.
Instead.
And Columbus Day was not always on a Monday either. They always got to tamper with stuff.
Well, they do that so you have a longer weekend. You know, a vacation from your work,
depending on what,
your job,
depending
if you
on
have
what,
one.
Depending on what job you have. Not everybody is off on Columbus Day. Yes, if you have a job. That's true. Continue.
Instead, they are subject to interpretation, which is understandable. Laws are written by ordinary people, then they are modified or mangled by committees on their bumpy road to passage. As for case law, it's teeming with human interpretations. It would just detract from our efforts to keep Watson above the fray. Then there's the Constitution, which embodies our fundamental laws and more. Over time, translating its precepts into current reality grows more and more difficult, demonstrated by our frequently split Supreme Court decisions. Our judicial system could be improved, all right, but not by heading toward rigidity. Fairness lies in the opposite direction.
Rigidity, yeah. Fairness lies.
Would you call
the opposite
conservative
direction.
Ideology rigidity?
No, I call it extreme stupidity and illogic. Illogic. I call all Republicans and right-wing ideology illogical, because it is not based on any proven facts.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Spocko?
Not even their religious nonsense is. And boy, they get away with it.
That's true.
They did away with it.
It's early.
A trove
Yeah.
of ancient manuscripts in Hebrew characters rescued from caves in a Taliban stronghold in northern Afghanistan is providing the first physical evidence of a Jewish community that thrived there 1,000 years ago.
Even in Afghanistan? How the hell did they end up there?
Israel's National Library on Thursday unveiled the cache of recently purchased documents that run the gamut of life experiences, including biblical commentaries, personal letters, and financial records.
I have no interest in this reading, so I'm going to take a nap. Go ahead, continue.
Researchers say the Afghan Gen-Izah marks the greatest such archive found since the Cairo Gen-Izah was discovered in an Egyptian synagogue more than 100 years ago. A vast depository of medieval manuscripts considered to be among the most valuable collections of historical documents ever found. Genizah, a Hebrew term that loosely translates as storage, refers to a storeroom adjacent to a synagogue or Jewish cemetery where Hebrew books and papers are kept. Jewish law forbids throwing away writings containing the formal names of God, so they are either buried or stashed away. The Afghan collection gives an unprecedented look into the lives of Jews in ancient Persia in the 11th century. The paper manuscripts preserved over the centuries by the dry, shady conditions of the caves include writings in Hebrew, Aramaic, Judeo-Arabic, and the unique Judeo-Persian language from that era, which used Hebrew letters. It was the Yiddish of Persian Jews. This rabbi said the documents include mentions of distinctly Jewish names and evidence of commercial activities along the Silk Road connecting Europe and the East. The obscure Judeo-Persian language, along with carbon dating technology, helped authenticate the collection. Last month, the library purchased 29 out of hundreds of the documents, believed to be floating around the world, after long negotiations with antiquities dealers. Comparisons with other finds are inevitable. The Cairo Genizah was discovered in the late 1800s in Cairo's Ben Ezra Synagogue, built in the 9th century. It included thousands of documents Jews stored there for more than 1,000 years. Ben Shammai, this rabbi, said it was too early to compare the two, and it would take a long time to sift through the findings from Afghanistan. He said they were already significant, since no other Hebrew writings had been found so far from the Holy Land. Now,
oh, thank God.
That was uninteresting. Why?
Because I am not a fan of what Israel does not do, cares about, or doesn't care about. That's why I'm not a fan.
That was not Israel. Israel did not exist 1,000 years ago.
So why did they call them...
Not the Israel of the Middle East.
So why did they say that the Israeli presence was in Afghanistan? Why did they use that term?
They didn't say Israel. They said Jews.
Oh, as in the tribe.
East.
As in the tribe.
Correct.
Judah and Benjamin?
the Israel of the Middle East today did not exist 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It was 1948
Yeah.
when it came. It had its birth.
The Israel we know today was born in 1948.
Correct.
Okay.
But this has to do with Jews
As is,
way back,
as in the tribe,
1,000 years ago. Correct?
one of the 10,
Judah,
one of the 10 tribes,
12,
12 tribes.
actually 13.
Oh, like a witch's coven.
No, like the 13 original colonies.
Like a witch's coven. A witch's coven is 12 witches and Satan, or an evil spirit, make up 13. That's the witch's coven.
Manasseh is counted as the 13th tribe.
Oh, Manasseh, which is
That's correct.
which the United States is the modern day descendant of Manasseh.
Correct. So do not
This fucking racket.
say a witch's coven.
Well, that's also.
They are not compatible.
I know, but as far as the number 13 goes,
There's nothing significant about the number 13 except superstition.
you don't believe in superstition?
You cannot be another two contradictory thoughts.
You don't believe...
You can't believe in the Bible and superstition.
You don't believe voodoo works, or black magic, or white magic, or anything like that works?
No.
You don't believe in spells?
No.
They work.
Where? Prove
Well,
it.
They work.
Prove it.
Plenty of studies.
Prove it.
plenty
Where's
of
the
proof.
studies?
There's plenty of hocus pocus in
There's
the
a lot
books.
of hocus pocus. About
Not
that.
hokum, but hocus
Hocus pocus.
Hocus pocus.
Which means hokum.
So be careful when you poke your hocus.
All right. Okay. You
Okay.
can't hold these two thoughts in your mind at the same time. You are either a adherent to one or the other.
If you believe, so you don't believe in
Believe is not
in
fact.
earth magic like voodoo,
No.
the earth religions, the earth magic. You don't believe that, do you?
Why would you believe in that if you believe in a creator God from the Bible?
Because if you have good spiritual entities, therefore you must have bad spiritual entities that exist.
But they do not work through voodoo.
But you don't believe voodoo works. Conjuring, you don't believe in conjuring, is what you're saying. All right, just say it. I don't believe in conjuring, and I do.
Because conjuring happens to be on the other side of the ledger. All conjuring is
Yeah.
done from the devil's side.
That's what I'm trying to say. You said
Well, then I believe
you said
in
all conjuring. No,
Yes, all
I believe it works for those that are practitioners.
But you put good people on that side before, or
No,
good spirits.
But there is something
Or
called
etc.
white magic that is used for good,
No.
like Wiccan.
No.
You know,
I-
are you familiar with the Wiccan?
Yes, I am the Wiccan. I know one personally.
They have a high priestess and a high priest.
I know one personally on Facebook and chat. Gina.
Oh, I know one too. In my friends,
Point is, you can't have those two
Yeah.
contradictory thoughts. You got to adhere to one or the other.
see, you would be better than a high priest. You would be a high exalted mystic imperial wizard.
I am a humble messenger.
Oh, by the way, he really did die. Harold Camping.
Really?
Yeah, he died peacefully in his sleep. How do you die peacefully in your sleep, and how do they know that one has died peacefully?
Well, because he didn't have to suffer through anything.
You mean
He was unconscious.
the autopsy?
It's the same thing we say when we euthanize a cat or a dog.
The autopsy report. Okay.
You know what I mean?
You mean when you humanely euthanize?
Well, I don't know if it's humanely. I mean, what is it? The barbiturate we put in his vein or whatever, and then it stops his heart, and I don't know about humane, but
I guess
they're unconscious.
I guess they render the living thing unconscious first, and then
So there's no pain involved.
yeah, and then I hear they use an overdose of sodium pentothal to actually cause the death. I could be
Something
wrong, but
I don't know about
it's the
pentothal.
most humane way to dispatch something. To dispatch.
We don't call it dispatching. We call
Euthanizing?
it euthanizing or putting to sleep. putting to sleep.
But when you kill, when they kill chickens for food, they call it dispatching.
No, they call it killing chickens for food.
Oh! I finally found a culture that has an annual chicken holiday with festivals and food and music and dancing in Java, Indonesia. A friend of mine has sent me photos. It's an actual holiday for chickens to revere a particular type of chicken and chickens in general, to show respect for them. And I am so happy that finally there's a culture in this world that honors the chicken, since they have given us so much for hundreds of thousands of years, and we don't really pay enough respect to the chicken. You know what I mean?
We do not. Yes, we do.
Okay. We'll take a break. It's time for the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman's gastronomic delight, known as lunch, followed by nutritional supplementation. All right. But we'll be back. Well, Dr. Bill, I got another message from the forces of evil in Washington, and the elitist fat cat demonic corporate CEOs for the poor people of the mainstream masses and the soon-to-be poor. It is a very wicked sound. The sound is something like this. It was left on my voicemail. We are here to kill you. 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 Wow, that sounds like we are here to kill you. Interesting. And now for a little Juice Heart medley. I did some jamming with the great Morgan Paul, the singer and violinist Ben Zabel, last week, and Ken Create performing in the background. I did some jamming with playing Paul's African djembe drum, and the first time I ever played it, and I did very well for a beginner. Very well, they told me. And I used my Juice harp when, I guess, if Paul sang a little bluegrass gospel and Ben fiddles, which he actually did. He did The Devil Was Down in Georgia, Charlie Daniels, and he could fiddle. I didn't know Ben can go from classical violining to fiddling like really well. Like he was like dee dee dee, like real fast. I mean, very impressed. And me playing this thing, of course I would need a microphone. I think it'll sound pretty well. Like if he sang like I saw the light, I saw the, you know, like some country gospel-y song. All right, that's enough of that. Now, the good news is that you viewers that happen to remember me discussing the fact that my peoples were working on a brand new wrestling organization. Well, that organization is finally becoming a reality. We have a building, a large rec room, I believe, in a very big and popular arcade up in Middletown, New York, Orange County area. And we have it reserved for February the 2nd, 2013. And so if you want to meet yours truly, James Piranha Madonna, and get an autograph, or you want to meet the one and only Ken Create, Let There Be Light, and watch him perform. He will be performing in a pre-event show, entertaining the kids, and also during intermission, and you can get his autograph too. We will be there making our public appearance February 2nd. I will give details on where this place is during the next show, and I will be doing color commentary for the wrestling event, because I've done that in the past. Should I do color commentary or black and white commentary? Alright, I'll do color commentary. So that's the good news. My good friend will be promoting the organization, and then we will take the pilot to cable TV and hopefully get a weekly time slot. And hopefully this will be a long-running series of star-studded, family-oriented professional wrestling shows. Well, it won't be PG, it won't be G-rated, but it'll be somewhere in between. It will be entertainment for all age groups. And my friend, the promoter, who is a second-generation professional wrestler, is personally friends with many stars, so it will be star-studded. This will not be a ham and egg organization, to say the least. Alright, where is my... Oh, I might as well do a little promo. This gentleman right next to me, it is a self-portrait, a watercolor painting of my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman, because Dr. Bill is a fine watercolor artist. You can go to your browser and type in William J. Eisman Collection, and you can see most of his paintings, not all of them, most. And or you can go to the Facebook Newsletter Censored page, and the whole entire album is there with, I would say, about maybe 97 or 98% of his paintings, give or take. And if you like something, okay, go to newslettercensored.com and email Dr. Bill and see if the painting is available, and you can procure, with a nice sizable gift to support this work, an authentically signed watercolor painting. This happens to be a self-portrait. Now, the best way to join our organization, you might be asking yourself, well, gee, how do I join their organization? Megalife 21 Newsletter Censored. How do I be a part of their organization? Well, it's very simple. Go to newslettercensored.com and click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, get your free annual subscription to the newsletter that started it all, founded in 1977, Newsletter Censored. This is it. We are living in the end times, and you need Newsletter Censored. You need Newsletter Censored to learn how to defeat a conservative and how to get through the end times with a small ray of hope, because the end times leads into the tribulation, which is really it's not going to be a pretty sight. But learn the real hard-hitting truth about what's really going on in this country and in the world, and learn what the Bible really has to say. Not what right-wing fundamentalists, counterfeit Christians tell you what the Bible says. Learn what the Bible really has to say. Go to newslettercensored.com and get your subscription right now, because you need Newsletter Censored. All right. That takes care of promo. That takes care of promo. Now let me make myself a little useful here. Yeah, right. Well, remember where you left off.
Tissue.
Oh, you want another one?
I found it.
Just in case?
I don't think so.
You want stamp? Yeah, I'll give you one on standby. It's only a tissue. Okay. Now, in the words of old man Spock, the American society we live in today Americans are often extremely illogical, especially when they go to the polls. They'll vote Republican in one way, and then they'll turn around and vote Democrat for somebody else, or vice versa. Which means to me that they don't really want positive change to take place in the country. They want a reason to bitch and moan and cry. They don't really want to live a happy life, because if they wanted to live a happy life, they would see what's going on, and they would arrange it so the progressives will be in charge of Washington, and the fat cats will pay most of the taxes the way it's supposed to be.
Well, for 43 years,
The way it's supposed to be.
they have been voting
Yeah.
so that the fat cats do not pay their fair share of taxes,
Or any.
and that the taxes are paid by those down below
Generally,
on the economic scale.
General Electric, a company that puts out garbage products, because everything I ever got that was GE burned out kind of early. They don't pay any taxes at all, from what I understand. And Lionel was showing the stack of the tax code laws are being increased in the favor of the fat cats,
It's been that way for 43 years.
with more and more and more loopholes being created for the elitists. More loopholes.
to hold on. Well, we had the loopholes. We had more and more things created for them in the fiscal cliff.
The fiscal cliff.
Well, now they can don't have to pay as much taxes on the first $5 million that they transfer to their kids when they croak, etc.
The poor,
Capital gains, dividends, and all these things.
the poor little spoiled, coddled, rich brats with the silver spoon in their mouth to make sure that they get.
They get a, you know, it's like, you know, at track, the 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
Well, it's like giving them 50 yards while you're sitting back, you know.
Head start.
A head
A
start.
huge head start.
That's what capitalism does.
And if you're a child of a middle class or a poor family, you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell to attain the American dream.
No.
You don't. Unlike some of these.
Because the old tortoise and the hare was just a fable. Okay?
Yeah. Well, if you
It
listen,
wasn't real.
if
Because you know what?
Yeah.
The hare will beat the tortoise any time.
If the hare wasn't distracted and the hare didn't get arrogant and take a nap.
Well, yeah.
Listen, I owned a tortoise.
That's why it was a fable.
I owned a tortoise, and if the hare was distracted, and being that tortoises are very stubborn and very determined, and they might not move very fast, but they're
I heard
steady.
of one that
They're
does.
steady. They're steady, and they can move when they want.
I heard of one that does move fairly fast. I'm not sure.
I've
what
seen
it
a
was,
tortoise.
where it was from.
My tortoise, when it's seen something, when it saw food, and when I called its name, it picked up speed, surprising speed. And I'm not saying it ran like a rabbit would, but like creatures that run fast, well, they run in spurts. They run real
like
fast.
The cheetah.
Well, they run real fast, and then they take a rest, and they hang out for a bit. And then when they get their energy back, they run again.
Now there's a poor.
But a tortoise is relentless.
There's a poor species. The cheetah.
No
The
retreat.
cheetah spends all the time trying to grab its prey, using up all its energy,
And it doesn't always succeed.
and doesn't always succeed. But then when it does, along comes the hyenas and etc.
And lions.
steal their food.
And a cheetah has to quickly drag its prey
Dispatch it and eat it quickly.
No, they have to hide it. They have to.
Well, yeah,
they have to get it out of sight, because then the cheetah and the cubs will, after all that work, will not have any food, because it'll get stolen. And a cheetah does not have retractable claws in which to defend itself. So a cheetah is like, I mean, nature really, it gave it speed, but as a cat, it doesn't have the claws. You know what I mean? Like a leopard, the strong little buggers that they are, they could drag their prey up in a tree where leopards like to hang out. And that's what leopards do. But a cheetah can't do that because it doesn't have retractable claws. You know, so that's the drawback of being the fastest animal. But what was I saying before you mentioned the
tortoise?
The tortoise and the hare. In other words, yeah. Before that, I was talking about the tax code.
We were.
And then
well, as I said, that for the 43 years, the poor people and the middle class have been voting for people who go in there and raise the taxes on the poor and the middle class. That's what has been happening.
Mm-hmm.
And God forbid you should raise taxes on those who have the money, which is supposed to be the theme of the constitutional amendment that put in place the income tax. It's for those who have the money.
Why should people who have less money pay more in taxes?
Because they made it that way.
Than people who make more money. It is like totally illogical.
Again,
as Spock would say. Again, it is illogical that the rich elitists, big corporations, have all these loopholes and pay no taxes, and the little guy pays all the taxes.
Has to make up for it.
The middle class have to suffer.
Yeah. Totally
illogical.
But that's what is. That's the reality.
It's corruption, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's
but they keep voting them in, don't they?
And that's not counting.
They're protecting against big
That's
government.
not counting all the ill-gotten gains that the fat cats make. You know, unethical shenanigans. You know what I mean? Shenanigans.
That goes with the territory.
Yeah. The human race is very despicable and vile. I've said this many times. But do people...
But it pretends to be otherwise.
Do people really absorb what we say? Oh, no. They rather look at videos of a stupid, retarded, fat pig honey boo-boo, you know, a redneck hick honey boo-boo, and watch stupid videos like the Duck Song that has millions of hits. You know what I mean? Idiotic things. Americans just love stupid things. Do they want to really be educated and learn something?
No.
No.
Because most people are glad to be out of school. And 85% of the people who are on the internet are there for entertainment, not for education.
Yeah, well, like that banner says, it was either on Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory or another progressive organization, but it said something like the person who is not interested in politics is basically a damn fool.
Well, because that's how we allow the elitists and whatever, the corrupt people, to do what they want to do. It's your government. If you don't have a hand in it, and if you aren't vigilant and watch it, and watch the people that you vote in there, then they're going to run all over you.
And speaking of...
Which they do.
True TV. Where the hell is Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory show now? I've heard nothing. I've seen no advertisements on True TV whatsoever about when the show is being played. I have no idea what day, what time slot, and what day it's being played. I think it's unfair to the truth seekers of America and the world.
They care.
And it's unfair to the people, the fans of the show, because it is one of the most important shows that was ever made in the history of television. In my opinion, I think it is. One of the deepest, one of the hardest hitting, And
Well, as I say, the last time I looked,
I don't know where it is.
the recent Brain Invaders show only had something like 625 hits
At that time.
at that time. So I'm sure if you go there again, there's only a few more.
What about the death ray? I wonder how
And the
many
death
hits.
rate too.
Really?
There's only a small amount of people.
Do you think it's because there's a stigma surrounding the words conspiracy theories? You think that the media has brainwashed people into thinking that conspiracy theories
They're all crazy.
are crazy? That we're all crazy people?
Yes.
Just like the Democrats are all lost, sinful souls that are bound for hell?
Baby killers. Secular humanists.
Yeah.
Demons.
Oh, but it's all right for children, for poor children that are already born to die of sickness and starvation. That's okay, Republicans. But if you're in a womb or you're a fertilized egg, then you're important to a right-winger.
Well, as stated in the new newsletter issue, there are no Christians on Wall Street.
You hear that?
It was stated that what were you saying?
About a fertilized egg being a human being or not being, or about had to be a Roe? Is it a Roe versus Wade topic?
No. It was bigger than that.
It would.
It'll come to me.
Hold on. Well, there are no Christians on Wall Street. That's obvious.
Of course not. But that's what I said in there in the article. It was pertinent, which I'm forgetting at the moment. It was pertinent for that particular issue you were yakking about.
It's applicable.
It was applicable. That's when you lick an apple.
I was talking about. I was licking an apple. Yeah. I was licking a cherry. Ugh. I was talking.
I've never known a cherry.
I was talking about. That would be a sexy tattoo for girls, to get a couple of cherries tattooed above one of her ass cheeks, or right above the bush.
What if she's not cherry?
Oh yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. What about a pineapple? What about a couple of sardines tattooed?
Oh my God!
Oh, wait a minute. Joke.
Sardines.
A little levity. Those are our levity jingle bells. I was talking about how Republicans see the termination of a pregnancy, even if it's a fertilized egg, as being a baby killer, when the Bible doesn't even say that it's a human being, unless you take the first breath.
But actually, well, of course, that's what they're hypocrites about their religion.
And they care more about the poor child that is born.
Now I know where I was going.
That's okay.
If this were a Christian nation, if the conservative Republicans, the right-wingers, were actually Christians, there would be no poor in America. So since there are, they aren't. They do not have the moral high ground. Never did. And it's about time that someone undermine their hypocritical nonsense crap that they keep throwing out there with these Rick Warren, Joel Osteen, and all of these other pastors, fake, false Christians, counterfeit.
You're talking about the so-called prosperity preachers?
All of them.
That's what they're called.
99% of them.
The Benny Hinns, the Peter Popoffs, the Joel Osteens.
All those who do not adhere to the Bible. They are false, counterfeit, fake Christians. A Christian follows Christ.
True.
Pure and simple. Okay? So anything you come up with that is against that, then you are not a Christian. Nor can you be. The Food and Drug Administration
Oh boy.
on Friday proposed the most sweeping food safety rules in decades, requiring farmers and food companies to be more vigilant after deadly outbreaks in peanuts, cantaloupe, and leafy greens. The long overdue regulations are aimed at reducing the estimated 3,000 deaths a year from foodborne illness. Just since last summer, outbreaks of listeria in cheese, salmonella in peanut butter, mangoes, and cantaloupe have been linked to more than 400 illnesses and as many as 7 deaths, according to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The actual number of those sickened is likely much higher. The FDA's proposed rules would require farmers to take new precautions against contamination, to include making sure workers' hands are washed, irrigation water is clean, and that animals stay out of fields. Food manufacturers will have to submit food safety plans to the government to show they are keeping their operations clean. Oh, I'm sure the Republicans love all these new regulations.
Oh yeah, they love regulations.
Especially when they're in the benefit of, the little guy. A spokeswoman.
Because they want government to fail, the Republicans do.
A spokeswoman for the New Jersey Department of Agriculture
New Jersey has a Department of Agriculture?
said the state is already a leader in food safety.
A leader?
That's what she said.
Maybe.
Since 2006, the
Perhaps.
New Jersey Department of Agriculture has utilized a produce safety task force, and in cooperation with Rutgers Cooperative Extension, more than 2,000 farmers have been trained in food safety practices. In addition, the department's Jersey Fresh program has a quality grading component, which further fosters safe food handling procedures. Many responsible food companies and farmers already are following the steps that the FDA would now require them to take. But officials say the requirements could have saved lives, prevented illnesses in several of the large-scale outbreaks that have hit the country in recent years. If you have to tell a food handler to wash his stinking hands, you got a problem.
And nobody that works in the food industry, especially on the retail end of it, nobody that handles money and works the cash register should be allowed to touch food. The people who prepare the food should never go near the cash register. Do you hear that? Cheap luncheonette, takeout, and restaurant owners that don't want to hire enough staff. The cash register, the cashier should always be the cashier.
In a 2011 outbreak of listeria in cantaloupe, claimed 33 lives, for example. FDA inspectors found pools of dirty water on the floor and old, dirty processing equipment at Jensen Farms in Colorado, where the cantaloupes were grown. In a peanut butter outbreak, this year linked to 42 salmonella illnesses, inspectors found samples of salmonella throughout Sunland Incorporated's peanut processing plant in New Mexico.
It had to come from fecal matter. The vegetarian sources do not allow salmonella growth. It had to be some vermin or animals, you know, crapping, pooping.
And multiple obvious safety problems.
Yeah.
Such as birds flying over uncovered trailers of peanuts.
There you go.
And employees not washing their hands.
I've seen people wash their hands in a very careless way, like almost like they do it in a split second. That's not washing.
You mean like Paula Deen? She doesn't use soap. She just goes to the sink and runs the water and puts her hands in.
Are these the same fat fingers that she sticks in the food and sucks her fingers?
Yeah.
She's even got her son doing everything with the hands, mixing with the hands. And she's got all those rings on her finger, and she's mixing everything with her hands, and her kids are doing it.
The best tool, the best kitchen tools are the hands.
No, not in the food I'm going to put in my stomach. Use a damn wooden spoon, for God's sakes.
Under the new rules, companies would have to lay out plans for preventing those sorts of problems, monitor their own progress, which I disagree with, and explain to the FDA how they would correct them. The rules go very directly to preventing the types of outbreaks that we have seen. The FDA estimates the new rules could prevent almost 2 million illnesses annually, but it could be several years before the rules are actually preventing outbreaks. It could take the agency another year to craft the rules after a 4-month comment period. Hey, they seem to work very fast concerning pharmaceuticals. And not to take them off the market either.
Yeah.
To get them on the market.
Correct.
And farms would have at least 2 years to comply. Meaning the farm rules are at least 3 years away from taking effect. Smaller farms would have even longer to comply. During the comment period, New Jersey will be looking at the rules to determine if there is indeed input needed to help the Food and Drug Administration as it works to strengthen food safety systems. The new rules, which come exactly 2 years to the day President Obama signed food safety legislation passed by Congress, were already delayed. The 2011 law required the agency to propose a first installment of the rules a year ago. But the Obama administration held them until after the election. Food safety advocates sued the administration to win their release. Now, who has our health in mind? The administration?
Not the administration.
Congress?
No, it's up to us to look after our own health through research and study, you know, and education. The government, you know, they're easily swayed and bought off.
Bought off. The produce rule would mark the first time the FDA has had real authority to regulate food on farms. In an effort to stave off protests from farmers, the farm rules are tailored to apply only to certain fruits and vegetables that pose the greatest risk, like berries, melons, leafy greens, and other foods that are usually eaten raw.
Okay, salad greens, yeah.
A farm that produces green beans that will be canned and cooked, for example, would not be regulated.
Yeah, like your frozen food companies, both No Frills Generics and like Bird's Eye and Green Giant, like that. They quickly freeze the plants after they're harvested. Therefore, the vegetables and fruits are vine ripened and then quickly cleaned and flash frozen. Yeah.
Such flexibility, along with the growing realization that outbreaks are bad for business, has brought the produce industry and much of the rest of the food industry on board, as Congress and the FDA has worked to make food safer. In a statement Friday, Pamela Bailey, president of the Grocery Manufacturers Association, which represents the country's biggest food companies, said, "The food safety law can serve as a role model for what can be achieved when the private and public sectors work together to achieve a common goal."
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't they go after the CEO of Whole Foods? Where concerning that, I read an article that the CEO of Whole Foods, that the Whole Foods market derives its produce from a source, a farm that uses a processed fertilizer made from human feces. Okay, so how come the FDA and the USDA are not coming down on the CEO of Whole Foods for doing that and closing them down? Disgusting. I mean, it's a type of it's like with mad cow disease. You know, instead of giving the cattle the proper food and letting them eat the grass free range, they're giving them feed that has like
dead animals,
mashed up roadkill or sick old cows, that cattle and byproducts and everything, like just to save money on a feed, giving them things that the cows shouldn't be eating, and then that's how you get mad cow disease, which perforates the brain, it causes holes in your head, bigger holes than a lot of humans.
A lot of Republicans have holes.
A lot of bigger holes than
mad cow disease.
A lot of holes that are bigger than the ones Republicans have now in their heads, and Tea Party or tea baggers, but. Yeah, I mean, who wants to eat a cucumber or an asparagus or tomato that have been feeding on human feces as a fertilizer? Pretty disgusting. So, and that's supposed to be a health food-oriented company, Whole Foods.
New Jersey's nudists.
Oh, Sandy Hook, the beach in Sandy Hook you're talking about?
Face a summer of being naked, only in private, after October's superstorm closed their beach in Sandy Hook.
There you go. Parking Area G.
Cutting off drinking water and possibly littering the sand with live ordnance. The barrier, Spit, a 30-minute ferry ride from Manhattan, is part of the fourth most visited United States recreation area operated by the National Park Service. On summer weekends, as many as 5,000 people head for secluded Gunnison Beach, where swimsuits are scarce and sunblock is super strength. A season's parking is $75.
Yay. Wow.
Though regulars call Gunnison priceless because it's New Jersey's only clothing optional beach, and one of the few along the U.S. East Coast. Sandy left it off limits, with no scheduled reopening, according to Daphne Yoon, spokeswoman for the National Park Service.
Don't shake anybody's hand on that beach if they try to make friends with you, after they put on the sunscreen everywhere.
It's been my place of choice for so many years, said Lois Flisick, 62-year-old school secretary who has visited Gunnison since the 1970s.
That's all we need to see is senior citizens naked.
It's not about wearing or not wearing a bathing suit.
What is it about?
It's about being comfortable.
Yeah, right.
For Flisick, the possibility of missing a season is a double blow.
So Flisick cannot flaunt what she has.
The October 29th storm flooded her apartment along the Shrewsbury River in Atlantic Highlands, ruining half her belongings. Sandy swept through Gateway National Recreation Area.
That's what it's called, Gateway National Recreation.
Established in 1972 to serve one of the most urban areas in the U.S. The Jamaica Bay Wildlife Refuge in Queens, New York, where saltwater beach breached 2 freshwater ponds that are crucial to migrating birds, reopened November 23rd. Parts of Great Kills Park on New York's Staten Island, which lost a marina, are open to visitors. Sandy caused $348 million in damage to 69 National Park Service properties.
My brother lost the whole first floor of his new house from Sandy flooding.
The Park Service says it won't allow activity on Sandy Hook until the area is safe. Technicians continue to probe for live explosives, possibly tossed from the ocean's floor, that are remnants of Sandy Hook's past as an Army proving ground and Cold War era defense base. There's no running water for toilets, no drinking water, Yun said by phone last week. There's damage to some historic buildings and sand displacement. A 1999 New Jersey law led to a nudity ban on Higbee Beach in Lower Township, leaving Gunnison as the only legal alternative. Even Asbury Park, with a thriving gay and lesbian community that values tolerance, refused to consider a 2010 proposal to allow topless bathing on the grounds of indecency.
Topless? Don't worry about topless. Worry about bottomless.
Gail Distasio, 58, of Atlantic Highlands, is expecting her first tan line since before 1975.
You know, people fool around underneath like sheets on that beach. I heard they cover themselves or they have tents. They pitch tents there.
When the Gunnison crowd was me and a bunch of foreign old men.
It's a pretty sight, right? Got it.
There's so much freedom in coming out of the water and not sitting in a wet swimsuit.
Okay.
She said. Distasio, who retired from a career in food sales, says most people have the wrong impression of socializing naked on the beach.
You know, I hear somebody have their genitalia pierced on that beach. They don't go swimming like that, because if a predatory fish sees that flash of silver or gold, you know what's going to happen. They're going to think it's a little fish, and they're going to bite it.
She described Gunnison as a neighborhood of hippies, musicians,
yes,
senior citizens, volleyball players, and nurses, doctors, and other professionals.
You don't know what they are because they're in their birthday suit.
People say, oh, Gunnison Beach, the sex beach. People think there's all this hanky-panky.
There is. In the gay section, I heard. There's a gay and lesbian section of Gunnison Beach.
You can't do anything on our beach that you can't do on every other beach in New Jersey.
Yeah, tell that to the couple that was under the sheet.
The biggest misconception is there's a lot of slap and tickle going on out there.
Tickle? Slap and tickle.
Friends are stressed about the canceled polar bear plunge.
Holy shit, I saw that on the news. The annual polar bear plunge.
Yeah, but I don't think it was in New Jersey.
No, it was in New York. Holy crap. Could you imagine
that thing kills me, man.
It's like 20 degrees out or less and you're jumping in the ocean? Oh, man.
Traditionally, the first weekend after New Year's Day, when 60 to 70 beachgoers skinny dip in near-freezing Atlantic Ocean. Nudists do not relax until they get their clothes off.
Then they relax?
That's correct.
It's like a fetish.
Hey,
Exhibitionism, perhaps?
they were naked in the Garden of Eden.
Well, this is not the Garden of Eden. It's the Garden...
Clothes, you know, cause body odor.
It's the Garden of Eden. Eaton. Eaton.
Is that
E-A-T-I-N.
like Eatontown?
Yeah, Eatontown.
In New Jersey?
No, that's E-A-T-O-N.
I see.
But the Garden of Eden, that's all they knew. So, you know, nudity was the norm between Adam and Eve, you know.
Until they disobeyed.
There was no shame involved.
Until they disobeyed.
Yeah, but doesn't that take a lot out of the imagination? There's nothing left to the imagination when people become desensitized, men and women, girls and boys, to nudity. There's like, where does the stimuli come from when you want to date or get laid?
Well, let me see now.
If they get too used to what nudity looks like.
There's another one of the five senses. I believe it's called touch.
Oh, that usually helps. Touch.
Jeez.
There's touch. And it's also hard to have a conversation with somebody who's very attractive, talking to you in the nude. I mean, how do you keep your eyeballs on her eyeballs?
Well, you do it.
You do it?
What are you banging everybody you look at?
No, but you have to
Well,
you have to pay attention to them when they talk, right?
They're talking. They're not
Oh.
flaunting.
You know where the flaunters are? I hear they're by the dunes in the back. They're away from the ocean. I hear all the hippies and the bikers. They're by the water and they put up like a barricade made of canvas. They put up like a wall so they don't have to fraternize with anybody else, and it's interesting. Then I hear there's a gay and a lesbian section when you go on one section, you know, and everybody's segregated off, and a lot of boats and cabin cruisers come in really close with their binoculars.
What the hell are they going to see?
They're going to see a whole. They're looking for some nice looking naked bodies. I guess they're taking a video or whatever they do. I don't know.
Oh Lord.
So this is the Sandy has put a damper on the nude beach.
Correct.
In New Jersey at Sandy Hook. We have a time for one last juicy article.
Representative Scott Garrett, Republican of Wantage, New Jersey,
Oh, I know Wantage.
tries to convince us that the new health care law infringes on our freedom and liberty. How odd. Under the old law, many wage earners stuck to an employer merely for the sake of health insurance. The new law provides real progress since employees now have the freedom to explore other opportunities without fear of losing their protection. As to the mandate, many aspects of our everyday lives require some form of subordination and compliance. This also applies to health care. Except for the very well-off, most people can't go through life without insurance protection.
And I still say the best way to approach healthcare in America is a modified, revised, upgraded Medicare system and make the rich pay for it.
That's another one of those examples over the last 43 years.
It's that simple. James made it that simple.
I believe Richard Wolff said this morning, that those who make more than 110,000, it used to be 106,800, make more than 110,000, they don't pay no more Social Security tax. No more payroll tax.
They don't need it.
What do you mean they don't need it? They need to pay for it. You just said.
Oh, the taxes. Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I meant
We give them a holiday.
I meant for the rich who become 65 years old, like a politician who was in for a couple terms, and then all of a sudden they're retiring. They don't need to collect Social Security and Medicare.
But they need to pay for it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because
We forget
of their income.
in this country, the propaganda has been so great in favor of billionaires and millionaires that we forget that those who pay the income tax are those who have the money.
That's right. That's right, my friend. That's right. You can't lose with the stuff.
Oh, Elizabeth, it's a biggie.
You can't lose with the stuff we use here at Newsletter Censors. All right, let's finish this last article off. This reading.
Taking a gamble would not be fair to dependents or to society, which will ultimately be burdened with the consequences of such irresponsibility.
Consequences.
Garrett
Consequences.
visited our company in Ramsey during his re-election campaign in 2004. Our management team mentioned the ridiculous annual double-digit increases in healthcare premiums. Neither the company nor its 150 employees could any longer excuse me, absorb these horrendous adjustments without a significant impact on employees' take-home pay. Being a savvy politician, he immediately exclaimed that something had to be done. He had 8 years to present a workable healthcare solution, yet he came up empty-handed.
Empty-handed.
Now, he was quick in demonizing the Patient Protection and Affordable Health Care Act, and like his Republican colleagues, expending considerable effort trying to undo it.
Okay, do you have an interesting, shorter reading?
Shorter.
Or you want to just... No, you know what? Before we run out of time, we should just bang it up. That's a good idea, right?
Hang it up.
Oh, your new painting is not done yet.
No.
All right, so I will not show it because I already showed it last time.
Well, I did work on it since then.
But it's best to show them when they're finished.
Maybe.
Thank you for joining us for Progressive Discussions. What can I say? It's been fun. It's been informative. It's been very hard-hitting, like always. And we'll see you next time.
And any criticisms? F you.
Like the old saying about censorship, if you don't like what you're listening to or viewing, turn the channel, shut it off, go watch something else. That's all. If you got a problem with us not being in a high-tech, state-of-the-art, expensive studio, if you don't, you know, if we're not on mainstream, if we're not on the mainstream media, where we have to kowtow to sponsors and get bossed around by companies that, you know, are the sponsors that pay us our salaries, you know, we don't want to answer to anybody. That's why we broadcast on the internet. And we can't do the things and say the things that we normally say if we were in mainstream, in a fancy studio with expensive lighting and expensive cameras and commercials.
Remember, all that Oprah Winfrey had with her new cable TV station. And guess what happened?
She ain't doing so well.
She ain't doing so well. Had to hire Tyler Perry to try to give her shows that people will watch.
Really?
Yeah.
The great and powerful Oz, I'm sorry, the great and powerful Oprah with her own station
with high-tech equipment.
Was floundering or is floundering?
Well, I don't know if she eats fish.
She was and is floundering. Has nothing to do with fish.
Yes.
Actually, I think I'm having broiled salmon fillet for dinner tonight. Speaking of fish and floundering. Yeah. Anyway, Thank you. See you next time. Who? Say goodbye to these
So
people.
long, people.
Huh?
So long, people.
So long, people?
Yeah, you know, they're like long
Did,
people, short people.
No, you don't say short. It's vertically challenged
Yeah,
now.
that too.
Vertically challenged. Like somebody who's constipated, does that mean they're fecally challenged?
Could be.
Well, John Holmes was so long. They used to say so long
Yeah, so long, John.
to John Holmes.
Yeah.
All right, but I'm bummed.